So I am filming this video because I get asked this question a lot in the comments, and I think that just talking about it off the cuff would probably be best because I haven't really thought about this too much. I don't tend to make decisions very logically. I just tend to kind of follow my gut, figure out whatever I'm interested in. So I guess I'll start with why I got into philosophy, because that kind of segues into why I got into psychology.
This video is sponsored by Mecha Arena. I love playing online games, but I rarely find the time to play. It's hard to find a game that's fast-paced, accessible, nice-looking, and filled with customizations. Thankfully, I found Mecha Arena, where you can play multiple matches in less than 10 minutes. The maps look amazing, and the gameplay is both intuitive and super rewarding. Encounters and respawns are extremely quick, so you never have to wait that long. In fact, if there was one thing I could applaud this game for, it's the fast pace. The gameplay itself is 2 to 5 minutes of high-speed action, which you can make even faster by upgrading your mechs, like Killshot or Lancer. It's the perfect little distraction in between studying and working, and even just relaxing by the fire for the holidays. Note that this isn't a reflex first-person shooter, but that it also doesn't feel slow like most other mech games. Mecha Arena just had the huge Mechs Are Here event where they raised $100,000 for charity, starting with the real-life Mecha Arena battle on Santa Monica Pier in LA, and finishing with the Mecha Arena Championship where the winners will go pilot a real-life mech. And that's not all, there's a ton coming to this game this month. Pilots are coming on December 21st with 12 completely unique pilots to choose from and customize. It's completely free to play on Android and iOS right now, and you can use my personal link or scan my QR code to get 50,000 credits, 3 gold crates, and 1 exclusive skin heraldic to help kickstart your game. And if you're quick, you can add me to friends, and we can play some matches together. So don't wait around.
I originally got into philosophy when I went on a trip to Europe in grade 10, I think, grade 10 or 11, and it was like a school trip. And yeah, there was a tour guide who was incredibly like sassy, and he was basically stereotyping Canadians the whole time as stupid and uneducated and very pragmatic, and a lot of the stuff that they taught us in school he assumed were very kind of basic things, math, science. He was bragging a lot about how philosophy was a really important part of the French culture and the whole culture of debate and thinking about abstract ideas and kind of relativism and uncertainty. Looking back, he was kind of an asshole, but I think the sort of impressionable mind at that age I had was, I thought like, oh, this is a really cool kind of thing that I actually don't know that much about. And I remembered that my dad had a lot of philosophy books in the house. And I was also at that age where, 14, 15, you're like starting to think like, what does everything mean? Why am I doing this? Is there like a meaning to life? Just it's a very kind of cliche, trying to find yourself at this age, trying to form some identity. And I proceeded to go back home, read The Outsider originally, Albert Camus' kind of famous novel about Meursault, and he murders somebody on a beach, and it was I did not understand it firstly, or initially, but I then went kind of, researching online, and then they said, oh, you should read The Myth of Sisyphus, because it kind of explains Camus' whole philosophy, which honestly intrigued me, this idea that there's this kind of simple book in a way, but complex book if you understand the meaning behind it, if you understand the rest of the author's work, which is kind of a cool thing about philosophy in general, is that anytime you read one book, it's going to branch off into like another book you should read, another reference, another thinker, another field. There's just this endless supply of ideas that are all connecting to each other. And so if you're a curious person, if you're asking a lot of questions, you're always going to be kind of willing to keep looking, to keep searching. And that's, of course, what I did. So I read Myth of Sisyphus. That was incredibly complicated for me, but I kind of got the general gist of it. Age of 15, I started reading more existentialism. I started reading some more like introductory books about philosophy. And yeah, to this day, I still read plenty of philosophical books. Now it's more of an interest in kind of contemporary critical theory and critiques of critical theory, and just things that have to deal more with modern issues of like technology, privacy, identity, rather than the more classical issues, which I'm sure is reflected in my recent content. Although the classical issues like love and meaning, and I mean, you could make the argument that they still have obvious relevance in modern times. They are like ancient, like since ancient philosophy existed, these have been questions that people have been searching the answers for. So now I've gravitated more towards kind of a contemporary sort of philosophy, but that's kind of how I got into philosophy. And then as for psychology, I was originally studying political science because I wanted to go into law school, and I was frankly a lot more interested in the individual, and I felt that a lot of political science, at least the issues they were talking about, kind of came down to the individual in the sense of, at the time I interpreted it as like human nature, but just kind of like how humans function. It's like we're not these like perfect rational characters or rational arbiters of action and decision making. We're very irrational, at least in the when you try to like reify our behavior. You know, looking back at like when Nixon got like incredibly drunk and supposedly was like threatening to nuke North Korea, and there was no real like political mechanisms to actually check that other than his I believe is like Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense actually just personally telling somebody like shouldn't do this. And that was like, for some reason that really like struck a chord with me, that it came down to just human relationships and impulses and psychology, rather than trying to interpret it on some sort of fully political, sociological kind of macro scale, which still interests me. But there's just something about, you know, what kind of bonds us and glues us together and what makes us tick, what makes us want to do things. I found that a lot more interesting, and I found it a lot more philosophical. So I started to read more psychology books. The main one I read that really got to me was Flow Psychology, which is obvious because I bring it up in a lot of my videos, by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. And then I was taking this class with a professor who we talked about it in lecture, and I was so enthused that I went up to him and I wanted to do some sort of research with that. And at this point, there was also another lecture in that same class that talked about the mental illnesses and the declining mental health outcomes of law students, especially law students that go to law school because of extrinsic reasons, or reasons that weren't very like purposeful, and they were all really, really bad. And it kind of scared me also. So I thought, you know, if I'm gonna do something really taxing and tiring, it might lead to mental health issues, it should at least be something I'm actually interested in. I wasn't really thinking of law school in a very reasonable way. It was just more kind of a materialistic kind of statusy kind of motivation that was propelling me forward. So I left political science. I picked up all these psychology classes. I started doing research in psychology. I was specifically investigating like idiographic statements about the good life. And I found a ton of findings, and, you know, it was very fun, like reading all the literature and exposing yourself to all these ideas and just this kind of field of free research and really following just your interests. And and you're in a lab, so you get to know people, which is quite nice compared to just like these big undergrad lectures where you don't really talk to anybody. So at this point in my life, I mean, whatever I choose to do, grad school, I just keep doing YouTube. I do experimental or clinical psychology. I take time off. I go do something completely different. I think my interests in psychology and philosophy have greatly improved my life and have led to greater insights and a more deep understanding of things and a deeper understanding of myself. It's of course also, I think at times, revealed uncomfortable facts about myself and led me to have to confront things about myself that I otherwise wouldn't have, which is good and therapeutic, but obviously it's not for everybody. And to this day, still grappling with certain things that pop up, but it's I think overall, I don't regret pursuing either of these fields, philosophy in a non-academic sense and psychology in an academic sense. And we'll see, I guess, where they take me. It's already helped me a lot with this channel, obviously, and being able to articulate why I enjoy these things and my interest in all of these topics. I'm glad that other people like them too. So that's I think that's everything. Thank you for listening.